Diego Pavia's SEC performance is outperforming Fernando Mendoza. This Heisman race is heating up.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in the world. I'm your host, Corey Burton, bringing you over a decade of experience in coaching in national sports media with Yahoo Sports. Joining me back for his weekly appearance, it's soon to be Dr. Mike Huesmann, host of Off Season After Dark. On today's episode, Mike, welcome, man. On today's episode, we're going to talk about opting out of bowl games. I really loved Clark Lee's quote on when they asked him, did you even think about avoiding this bowl? I loved his quote. It's basically all this huge debate is swirling over what Notre Dame did. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Pavia versus Gronowski. Is that a low-key great quarterback duel? That's assuming Diego Pavia plays in this bowl game, which I assume that he would. But you get Pavia versus Gronowski. I think it could be a low-key great quarterback duel. But first, we're going to lead off with, Pavia was announced as a Heisman finalist. Can he win it? What's the most important criteria? We're going to get into all of that on today's episode. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Shout out to the Everydayers Club. If you never miss a show, you're already one of us, and you can make it official for as little as $5 a month. Join the Everydayer Club today, a community for our most loyal Vanderbilt fans. Check out the link in the show notes or head to lockedonvandy.supercast.com for more information. And today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Mike, let's get into it, shall we? Sure. Diego Pavia is officially a Heisman finalist. We knew this was coming, but it's official, which makes it hit a little bit differently. But here's the list of finalists, Mike. Not surprising here. Diego Pavia, Fernando Mendoza, Julian Sayin, and Jeremiah Love are all going to New York. I was able to find for Pavia and Mendoza, this was not on purpose, but this actually kind of serves our argument. They're both doing some sort of like Heisman pose. This is the most Heisman pose pictures I could get for both of those guys. It worked out pretty good, but it's turned into really a two-person race, a two-man race. Yeah. Diego Pavia versus Fernando Mendoza. And it all kind of depends on what you're looking at, because we had these stats yesterday. And if you're looking at raw stats and numbers, to me, Diego Pavia has to be the leader, has to be the winner. And I said this on yesterday's show, but here's the Heisman comparison for that. Now, if you can see the tweet, Fernando Mendoza over the last 5 games still does not outperform numbers-wise Diego Pavia over his last 4. If you look at the raw numbers, I'm not going to read them out to you. You guys can see them on the screen. Actually, for the audio listeners, Diego Pavia had 1,494 passing yards for 75% passer rating and a 189.9 quarterback rating, accounting for 12 touchdowns. Mendoza, 69% passer with 1,057 yards and 9 touchdowns with 168.6 quarterback rating over the last 5 games. And the season stats are that I'll just break it down. 4,018 total yards for Diego Pavia with 36 touchdowns. That's 3,192 through the air for 71%. With 27 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. And the difference, Mike, is the rushing, 826 for 9 touchdowns versus 240 yards for 6 touchdowns for Mendoza. Mendoza 2980 through the air, 33 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. When you look at stats, pure numbers, what do these numbers tell you? Is Diego Pavia clearly better numbers-wise than Mendoza? I know numbers don't tell the whole story, but if we're looking at numbers.
No, it tells us he's better at rushing. And he's significantly better at that than Mendoza is. That's what it tells us. He's a far superior on the ground game. And for that Vandy team, he is a big component of their rushing attack. Mendoza isn't that for Indiana. He runs some, but not a ton. It's not what he does. It's not what many of Cignetti's quarterbacks have ever done.
Right. And he's probably gotten some scramble yards. He's probably, plunged in a few quarterback sneaks at the goal line. That's probably where all his touchdowns come from in the rushing game. But Mendoza.
I would also guess he's gotten sacked more than Pavia. Maybe not a ton more, but those negative yards are going to hurt him a little more. So.
Absolutely. So when you look at the passing yards, so Pavia has more passing yards, but less touchdowns, and the interceptions are very similar. So those almost wash each other out.
6, yeah.
That's kind of within a nice range where it just doesn't really compute. But he has 6 more touchdowns than Pavia through the air, but Pavia also has better rushing stats. Where does Mendoza's stats come from? Like with the passing game, is he just that efficient? Is Indiana that good at running the ball where they get the ball down in the red zone and he throws shorter touchdowns, or is he completing shorter passes? Like they're right around the same as far as completion percentage.
I would guess it's a mix of they're way more run pass mixed getting to the goal line, but also with how good they are on defense, especially in the second and fourth quarters after you've traded possessions, he's probably dealing with shorter fields. I would guess Indiana's starting field position is probably very good on average because their defense is so good and they're good on special teams. They're just pushing you back. Then eventually you're going to punt it to them. They're going to get it at midfield and punch it in.
So when you look at this Heisman race, it's obviously a tight race. Where does the edge come from? Because I know there's a poll out on the Locked On Vandy X account. There's a poll out there. So you guys need to go. What should matter most in the Heisman race? When you look at raw stats and numbers, obviously Pavia has the edge there, probably due to his rushing ability, but leadership and story, team success, strength of schedule, where does either quarterback gain an edge in that category, in those categories?
I mean, I would say in the team success, Mendoza has the massive edge. They're the number one team in the country going into the playoffs after beating the previous number one defending national champion, who also had the best defense in the country. So that team success is a big edge for Mendoza. The leadership and story, I would probably give the edge slightly to Pavia there, only because he's a more vocal leader. We see him with more summits. He's talking more. Mendoza is, he's a good leader, but he's also pretty quiet, nonchalant, and we're not hearing sound bites from him. That's not going to help you in a race like this where people want sound bites, people want clips they can play, where you're firing up everybody else and they're going to run through a brick wall for you. Pavia does that, Mendoza doesn't.
And Pavia got results from that too. It's not there's plenty of quarterbacks out there who do that and are just breathing hot air when they do that, and not many people are responding. And if Vanderbilt didn't go 10-2, I don't know that Pavia is necessarily in New York City.
Not at all.
I think part of that, you take the context of it. Now, obviously, Mendoza's team is number one in the country. They just beat the number one defense. They are the number one seed overall heading into the college football playoff. Obviously, that gives you a huge edge. But when you throw the leadership component into it and you put the context with it, like those sound bites, and for voters, if it was a cut and dry system where it wasn't subjective with voters and how they feel, I think the story stuff would matter less.
Agree.
And I think it'd be a runaway with Mendoza.
And I think that the how the story matters. Last year's a good highlight of that. The story of Travis Hunter playing both sides of the ball, really, and he was elite at both. In the moment, I would have given him the award, but that story pushed him over the edge, I think, more so than, hey, this G5 running back is putting up video game stats, but that's not enough.
Right, exactly. And so you look at what Pavia's story is, chip on the shoulder kid, coming out of JUCO to New Mexico State, follows his head coach over to Vanderbilt, has success and turns a program around that was in the dumpster.
Yep.
And you could say something simple. Well, Mendoza didn't do it. Kurt Cignetti did it.
Yeah. Mendoza was starting at Cal last year, for those out there that don't know.
Yeah, and he didn't lead the turnaround for Indiana. Diego Pavia did for Vanderbilt, because they went to a bowl game, 7-6, and then they went to 10-2, obviously this year. So Diego Pavia had a lot more to do with that. When you look at strength of schedule, strength of opponents, like, where does that factor in?
I think it's below. It's not as important, or not for me, for the voters. It's probably not as important as raw stats, and it's probably not as important as team success.
So when you put stats up, when you put the stats up on the wall, to me, and this is where I'm gonna push back a little bit, Mike. I think it provides context for what those stats mean. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. I wasn't thinking about that at all. That's a good point.
And if you're going to throw out, and this is for anyone that wants to throw, strength of stat, doesn't matter. If you want to throw out that he beat the number one defense in the country to get to them to number one seed, I think you have to look at how Diego Pavia got to those 10 wins and the defenses he faced to get there and the stuff that he had to go through to get that to that. I think their strength of schedule, strength of record, all of that is tougher than Indiana's. That's got to play a part into it.
I doubt the strength of record is because of the 2 losses. The strength of schedule definitely would be. That's just a guess. I have no idea what they are. I would guess the strength of record for Indiana would be higher just because they have the 13 wins.
So why do the losses, and I'm not pushing back on it, how do the losses affect this race?
Oh, no, I was just purely saying in the strength of record, they affect that a lot.
Yeah, so he had 2 losses, Mendoza had 0. And so even though he played an easier schedule, he did not lose.
I think it's about perception of he's leading the number 1 undefeated team in the country. And the schedule was easier than Vandy's. We're not talking a bunch of randos, though. It's still a Big Ten schedule. They beat Ohio State and Oregon. So,
okay. Dude, when you talk about a tightly contested race, man, it's going to come down to a razor's edge.
Yeah. The odds are not telling us that. Mendoza's odds are getting really good now. He's anywhere from -1,000 to -3,000, which is shocking to me that it's getting that high. But and the other 2, Love and Sayin, are basically dropped off the charts. I think Sayin in some spots now he's plus 30,000. So they basically think there's no chance anymore.
Yeah, and then where is so Pavia's got to be? Is Pavia still on the plus side? Or
he was plus 300. He was in the 3 digits, which is still relatively. You're within shooting distance at that point.
Yeah, so there is a chance, but I think from what the odds makers are saying, it's obvious that people are taking this. Okay, he took Indiana to the number 1 seed, and that's probably what's going to push him over the edge. Unfortunately.
Okay, so the ones I'm looking at, Pavia's plus 600, but then we jump all the way to Love is 3rd plus 15,000.
Oh,
Sayin is 4th plus 70,000. So it truly is a 2-person race if we're believing these odds now.
Yeah. So what's your gut telling you?
Mendoza. And I've been saying that for a month, and we were on the show last week and on our SEC After Dark. I felt like because of that extra game, whoever won the Big Ten title would win the Heisman, and I think that happens.
I don't think if Sayin won it, I don't know that he wins the Heisman, but if they won, his stats would have been better, I think. So yeah, I think it'd have been way tighter.
Absolutely,
with him and Pavia. I think Mendoza is benefit. I think Mendoza did himself a lot of favors.
It's weird. I think with if Sayin would have won, right now, Sayin's at fourth, not a shot anymore. Had Sayin won the game, Love is the guy that drops to 4 and doesn't have a shot anymore.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think Mendoza still has a shot even if Sayin wins, but I think it would have gone to Pavia had Sayin won. Mendoza did himself favor by getting that win, because I think voters would have said, okay, well, Julian Sayin's good, but he was carried by the number 1 defense in the country. He
has 2 receivers that are going to be first round picks.
Yeah. And you can't say the same, Mendoza's best receiver is Charlie Becker, who's a Father Ryan kid from Nashville.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a kid from Nashville. So, but yeah, so it's a great story nonetheless. It's going to be, this is going to be one of the more interesting Heisman races nonetheless. And no matter who wins it, I think deserves it. Yeah. Obviously,
I'll be happy for either of them. I'll be super happy because it's going to mean so much to either fan base.
Yeah, absolutely. You have 2 schools that were they were nothing schools when it came to football. Yeah. Like Indiana, I think just figured out last season they had a football team, and Vanderbilt, their administration cut the athletic department years ago. Just cut it out completely. And you're just like, what are we doing here? So that's kind of where these 2 programs are at. And that's why these 2 quarterbacks are.
I don't believe either of them has ever had a Heisman winner. Indiana has not.
No,
I don't think Vandy has.
Vandy has never had one. Vandy bowl games for Vanderbilt are fairly rare. So go figure with that. So, but anyway, speaking of Diego Pavia, he's got a bowl game to focus on after this, the ReliaQuest Bowl against Iowa. I did a little bit of a 30,000-foot view preview of it on the last episode. We're going to look at this quarterback battle because this is a quarterback episode. Gronowski versus Pavia. It's going to be a great quarterback duel. You want to stick around for that. What you also want to stick around for is the Omaha Steaks. Yeah. The holidays come with 2 big goals: feeding people well, which you can do with Omaha Steaks, and finding gifts they'll actually love. And when you want both handled in one move, like I said, Omaha Steaks is the way to go. From hosting to gifting, they deliver the world's best steak experience right to your door. And because during their Sizzle All the Way sale, you can stock up and save in a huge way, 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. It gets even better. Locked On College listeners get an extra $35 off with the code COLLEGE at checkout. So get this, man. You get this big styrofoam cooler that gets dropped off on your front door. You got, it's cooled with a dry ice, and you get these, whatever package you order. There's a bunch of options to choose from as far as gift packs that come with a lot of different options like fillets, ribeyes, burgers, comfort meals, sides, desserts. You can build a box, like a custom box for anyone. Like there's a lot of options, and it's so easy. It's a great gift. And if you're honestly thinking about having, depending on what size dinner party you want to have, but you could have you could have a friends and a family game night or a friends game night, and have some steaks, burgers, whatever. And it's just all right there. And man, they have holiday magic made easy. Order by 6 p.m. Eastern time, and it ships the same day. That's a game changer. So if any of that sounds great to you, save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, code COLLEGE. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. If you want to join the Everydayers Club, just $5 a month or $50 a year, you can get no interruptions. You get access to a members-only Discord, and there's so much more out there for you if you want to be in the Everydayers Club. So check that out. Joining me is Mike Huesmann, and after reading that, I want a big, medium rare ribeye. Now,
that's my favorite, and that's how I want them cooked as well. So
I'm craving that, a really nice Omaha steak cut of ribeye. Perfect. So I'm craving that, but obviously I can't have it right now. So let's move on. Speaking of great, Pavia versus Mark Gronowski. Like I said, it's a low-key great quarterback duel because I think Mark Gronowski is very similar in his impact to Iowa as Diego Pavia. Like I think this is a game where I haven't really been able to get a good read on Gronowski throughout the year. Like some games you're just like, what is he doing? And some games you're like, okay, this guy's pretty good. He's an FCS guy. He's been fairly well, done fairly well for Iowa. Like what stands out about Mark Gronowski, and why is this a low key great quarterback duel?
He's ran for 15 touchdowns in 12 games. That's really impressive, especially for a quarterback.
Yeah.
And they're a team that runs the ball a lot. They haven't always ran with the quarterback a ton, but you look at their running backs. Their running backs on the whole have ran for 7 touchdowns. He's ran for 15. And we're talking Iowa here. This is a team that loves to run the ball and loves to run the ball near the goal line, which tells me he has a little bit of Cam Newton in him, and he's pulling the ball, and he's the one that wants it near the goal line and wants to plunge it in. And he's been successful at it. Throwing wise, he has just been okay. I mean, their offense has never been one to let loose and, fling it around too much and take too many risks. He's thrown for 1,500 yards, only 8 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. So throwing wise, we're not wowed by anything he's doing. But if you would just watch the games, and I've watched a few Iowa games this year, he seems to play with him. He knows what he's doing. He's not going to blow you away, but you also leave thinking, oh, he's pretty good. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and when you have a quarterback that knows what he's doing and knows what he wants to do in the run game, I think that sets up for what Iowa always has is a great defense and great special team. So they're gonna grind this game down to a nub. They're gonna play field position. They're gonna do all that stuff. And if for the matchup to watch here for from a defensive perspective for Vanderbilt is they're so good in the red zone. But Iowa, I feel like with what they do running wise with the quarterback in the +1 quarterback run game is they're able to put it across the goal line thanks to Mark Gronowski. And that's kind of one of those matchups where you're like, okay, well, what is Vanderbilt? What are they going to do to take that away? Do they load the box and create one-on-ones on the outside? Do these receivers scare you at all? Does this passing game scare you? Or is it load 9 in or near the box and say, okay, beat us passing? Like, is that how you play Iowa?
Probably. The tough thing there is he'll get time because those of you out there may not be familiar with the PFF grade where, you rank by position. Everybody has a, numerical digit associated with how good you're playing. The top 5 guys on Iowa's team, who do you think they are? They're the 5 O-linemen. Mm-hmm. So their O-line's really, really good. And we will talk about them in the coming weeks. But if you make him beat you throwing, which you have to do, you got to make sure he doesn't have a lot of time to do it. And that's going to be tough with how good their front 5 are.
They're good at protecting. Yeah. And I think Vanderbilt against Tennessee did a phenomenal job of getting to Joey Aguilar, who gets the ball out quickly.
He does.
So yeah. I think there's something there. They've just got to, I think game planning wise, they've just got to kind of figure out how are we going to push the pocket on Gronowski. Now with Pavia against this Iowa defense, like what, and before you answer that question, what is the first game to get the best look at Iowa that Vanderbilt fans should watch? And then let's talk about Diego Pavia versus defense.
I mean, Iowa's game against Indiana was good. That was a 20-15 ball game going back. It was one of their, probably the second or third conference game. Another one that was a very good game.
Was it Oregon?
They lost to Oregon 18-16 in the rain about a month ago. So I would point to those 2 losses as games where you're really going to see what they are. And then the last game of the regular season, they boat raced Nebraska, just killed them. That'd be another all right one. But yeah, both the Indiana-Oregon games, like you're seeing how they play against equally talented teams.
Okay. So make note of that. Just there, the boat race against Nebraska and then Oregon, Indiana games. Just go check those out. Yeah. But Pavia against this defense, like what about this offense could strike fear into Iowa's defense?
I think how balanced they are and how it's tough to get Vandy off schedule. I mean, Vandy's been great at setting themselves up for manageable third downs. It's why they're so good at it. Mm-hmm. And if you are Iowa's D, that's a big challenge for you. They've, under Phil Parker, he's been their D coordinator for probably close to 20 years. They're not allowing much in the run game, but that's what Vandy's going to try to do, especially on early down. So the challenge is going to be put Vandy into third and long, because nobody's done that, or very few teams have done that this year.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, it's going to be an interesting matchup nonetheless. It's going to kind of be determined as far as like, okay, can Vanderbilt's defense affect Gronowski and vice versa for Iowa's defense? Are they going to have a chance against Diego Pavia? And we've got a lot of time to kind of dissect those things. And so we're going to do that over the next however many days there are between now and the New Year's Eve game down in Tampa, Florida. So it's going to be a fun one. But Clark Lee had something interesting to say when he accepted this bowl bid, and it's all based on the fact that Marcus Freeman decided to opt out of the bowl game for Notre Dame. They asked Clark Lee about it. We're going to talk about that next. First, I want to talk to you about Game Time because, man, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994 and with 48 teams for the first time ever. It's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part, and that's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. So you pull up the app. The layout makes it super simple to scroll through and compare seat views. You pick a game, tap a section, have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print because it's not there. The seat view feature is a game changer. You literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy. So there's no excuses there. Prices include fees up front, which is phenomenal. And no last second surprises at checkout either. Alerts for teams and matches that make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. All of that, if any of that sounds good, take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. All right, we are quickly wrapping up here. We're going to go into overtime, I presume, and it's okay.
That is okay.
We like overtime. It's free football. But one of the things that really kind of stood out to me, and like I said, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Thanks for making Locked On number one. At Locked On Vandy is the place to go if you want to follow along. At Huesmann CFB, at All Season After Dark for Mike if you want to check him out and check his episodes out. His episodes are about to get really lit. I'm sure there's some coaching carousel episodes out there, Mike, that are going to be really good for you.
We, for those of you out there in the SEC, and I know all of you are, we may have another Hugh Freeze head coaching job. He apparently is lobbying for the Southern Miss opening.
Yeah, that's going to get interesting. Yep. Not to completely get off the rails here, but Buster Faulkner is interested in that. He just got hired at Florida. Yeah. He coached there for a season, so the administration knows him. He knows him well.
Blake Anderson is in the mix too. Former Arkansas State head coach. He was the O coordinator there this year, and then he was at Utah State after that.
Oh God, yeah, Blake Anderson. Yeah, that's.
I'm okay. I would be okay with that for a G5. Looking at, he was pretty good, then had the terrible personal tragedy that kind of derailed him for a while. Now seems to be doing okay. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know the Buster. That would be phenomenal. I would like that one a lot.
Yeah, Buster has a connection.
I did not know that. Okay.
So apparently that's still out there. But anyway, so Marcus Freeman, we're going to talk about his decision to run away from the bowls. Like, I don't like his decision to opt out of the bowl. I don't know what you get out of that. You screw the kids over, I think. Yeah. You screw the players over, and they get, they don't get all that extra work because why? You're mad because you got left out of the college football playoff. Here's what Clark Lee had to say about the same exact thing. He was asked, hey, did you ever think about skipping a bowl? He said, no. We love playing football here. There's no way we were going to end this story early. I get a chance to spend 23 days with this team, and we're going to soak up every one of those days. I love that quote. He had a lot of good quotes in that session. He talked about accountability and saying, listen, we got left out of the playoffs, but we could have done something about it by beating Alabama and Texas. We didn't do it. We fell short, and that's on us. And I thought that was I love that response. And it's really just kind of turning the page on, we got whatever and whatever, and, raw deal this, raw deal that. Like, you can say all of that, but eventually you got to turn the page. And he did just that. And I really like that response from him as well. And so to me, I think opting out of bowl games as a program, the Big 12, with Kansas State and Iowa State, like, there's been countless bowl games coached by interim coaches. Like, these interim coaches get a chance to audition.
Yeah.
And these interim head coaches get a chance to see what it's like to be in the seat. And if they do well, like, their name could come up at some point down the road somewhere.
I have two strong feelings about both sides of this. And I'll say I'm differentiating between the bowl-eligible teams and the not bowl-eligible teams. The Notre Dame's, Kansas State's, Iowa State's, shame on you. They should be playing in these bowl games. Mm-hmm. We found out later that Florida State, Auburn, Baylor, some of the 5 and 7 teams, they turned down the opportunity. I understand that because your players and everybody, you've scattered and gone your separate ways. You haven't been practicing for the last week and a half. I'm okay with those teams that thought their season was done saying, no, we're not going to be able to be ready for it. But if you're Notre Dame, Kansas State, Iowa State, why do you do that? To me, you're just hurting your players.
If you're bowl eligible and you're going to get an invite, like, why would you do that? And I get it, and it would be cool if those teams could, like, rally back together and say, hey, we can play in a bowl game, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just not doable because of the circumstances, and that's understandable. That's not what I'm talking about when I talk about teams running away from bowl games. Those teams aren't prepared to play in those bowl games, and they can't, like, Auburn, Florida State, they probably can't take those opportunities because of what you just said. So I get that to a certain degree. I would love if they could, but then again, you don't want to put kids in harm's way based on, okay, well, we weren't going to go to a bowl. Now we're going to go to a bowl. Like, if it was going to be close and you could predict it, maybe you have that messaging beforehand. But if you're changing coaches like Auburn, like, you can't do that. You can't change. It's too much.
Logistically, like, I'm working at Marshall now, and we're in finals week. A lot of colleges might be, but if you're done with finals or your classes are online, your players might not even be on campus practicing. They might have went home a few days ago, so they may not even be around to practice.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, sound the alarm, and those guys would be like, God, no, I'll just get in the portal. It's okay. Yeah. So it's interesting, but like Notre Dame, dude, you could
weak sauce. Weak move.
Extremely weak, because you could have had a playoff game that's not a playoff game matchup. You could have worked something out with Vandy, Texas, or BYU.
So they were going to play the BYU and the Pop-Tarts Bowl is where they were going to get invited to. We pretty much have found that out.
And you duck that matchup?
Yeah.
It's even weaker because you're trying to make a case that you were a playoff team, and you're going to duck another team that was trying to make a case that they were a playoff team? Like, what? Like, that's just weak. And it makes me, going back to the Clark Lee quote, it makes me appreciate Clark Lee, because he could have done that and the world would have been like, yeah, stick it to him.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have agreed with that. Like if Vanderbilt, I would have been pissed if Vanderbilt decided to opt out of a bowl.
Yeah.
Because and it's not just because of Pavia. It's not just because of Stowers. Like I think Stowers will probably opt out of this game if I had to guess. Nobody would blame him there.
You think Pavia will play?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think he's still, surprisingly, he's still got a lot to prove.
Yeah.
He needs to put some tape out there. This may actually be the last time he ever plays. I don't know. There's no telling with that. So I think he'll play because I think he just wants to.
Yeah.
And Stowers may play because he wants to. I don't expect him to. No one would blame him.
He's a guy that has more to lose.
Yeah. He's going to be a first rounder. So, it's he has, not much to do. But again, he may just be like, hey, look, I'm going to finish this thing out. He's got a lot of character. So, it wouldn't surprise me either way with Stowers. I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of opt-outs except for those that are going to join the portal. I think if guys are going to get in the portal, I think you'll probably see a handful go into the portal this year. As far as that goes. So those guys will probably opt out because they're going into the portal.
Yeah.
But
for Iowa, there's a chance that two of their linemen could, Jennings Dunkert tackle and Logan Jones, who is a center but could be guard in the NFL. Both of those two will be relatively high NFL picks. So we could see two of their linemen opt out.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. And so, And Clark Lee said, Clark Lee even said he expects Pavia and Stowers to play. That doesn't mean that those two couldn't opt out later. But they, I think those two guys they just want to, I think the desire to just finish the story is something that I think would motivate them and get that 11th win and really just put a stamp on their legacy here at Vanderbilt. So that's going to be interesting there. But man, like Kansas State, what are you doing? I know your coach is retiring. Send him out on a good note.
Yeah.
And then just move on.
And I'm sure Kleiman would coach the bowl game if they went to one.
Because he didn't get fired. He's not moving on to a new job. He's retiring. So he's got one more in him. Like, that's weak. Iowa State, I get it. You're searching for a head coach.
They hired one. They hired Jimmy Rogers from Washington State, who was Mark Gronowski's head coach at South Dakota State.
Yeah. So you're not. You're not. Yeah. You miss a chance to get some players to audition for the new head coach.
And but for them, like your D coordinator is going with Campbell to Penn State, but their O coordinator has been there for a dozen years. He could be the interim for the game.
It doesn't matter. Like in 2009, Georgia had their entire defensive staff left. Their defensive coordinator was a GA in the Independence Bowl one year because they got rid of the whole staff, the whole defensive staff. And they were bringing in new guys right after that. But I mean, the whole defensive staff was like GAs and like one holdover.
Was that Todd Grantham, or was it the year before they brought Grantham in?
It was the year before they brought Grantham. Yeah. It was actually Todd Hartley was the guy, was the interim defensive coordinator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you know him from his days at Marshall, probably, his time at Miami, and now he's at Georgia. Recruiting.
He got there because Bob Pruitt at Marshall had been at Georgia's D coordinator before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's crazy. Like, you can do stuff like that. Like that, you're robbing young assistants of coaching opportunities. You're robbing players opportunities to showcase for the new head coach and bowl prep and things like that.
And the fans.
And the fans who want to see Iowa State fans.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but you don't get to see a whole lot of bowl games. And recently you've been really good under Matt Campbell.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like Iowa State's a program that could be turning down bowl games.
Yeah. And last but not least, you were robbing FanDuel aficionados everywhere for their ability to place bets. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you're forcing us to get a now the Birmingham Bowl as a result got really interesting because it's now the Hate Bowl.
The teams Marshall played their last 2 weeks Georgia Southern Appalachian State. Yeah.
So that'll actually be a fun result here. Appalachian State taking that really late bowl bid there. A team that's like, hey, we'll play. So
that's awesome. Good for them. That's great. Everybody knows I'm a South Carolina guy too, and Dawa Logan's their head coach. He was the Gamecocks coordinator last year.
Yeah, him taking that head coaching job really puts you all in a bad spot. Not saying that he shouldn't have taken that head coaching job, but it really put you guys in a bad scenario. But well, Mike, that's all we got today, man. And thanks for joining me once again, your weekly appearance. And this is going to continue probably as long as you want it to. So, and also thanks for tuning in today to Locked On Vandy. And, we'll continue to preview this bowl matchup. We'll talk a little hoops later on. We'll talk, we'll break down individual recruits and how soon I think they're going to impact the team. And there's a lot of other stories unfolding as we speak. So make sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Vandy so you can get all the latest episodes. Catch the show at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms. Did Locked On Vandy make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayers Club. Just tag our National Locked On Podcast Network account to any social platform, and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayers Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to members-only Discord channel. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On College Football. And, of course, the whole family of Locked On shows in the SEC family. But until next time, for Mike Huesmann, All Season After Dark, check him out. I'm Corey Burton. And we'll see you next time. Anchor down. Peace.